Alright, so got a couple decent walleyes here. We got a 19 incher and about a 21 and a half, 22 incher. We just did a little ice fishing, so now I'm going to clean these babies up. There are, like they say, more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to clean a walleye. I'm sure there's several different ways and little nuances how one guy does it versus another. I know of two ways to do it. First and foremost, what you're going to need and most imperative is an incredibly sharp knife. Trying to clean fish with a dull knife, I mean, it's just a fruitless effort. You're going to make mistakes. You're gonna leave meat on the bone. So start off with a sharp knife. So let's just dive right into it. Like I said, got two pretty decent fish here. So let's get into it. So one thing I didn't mention here is another thing you're going to want in a knife is a lot of flex. A nice flexible knife just makes a lot of parts of this a lot easier. But anyways, I've got a nice flexible knife here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this larger fish. The first way that I clean these walleyes is when I get a little bit bigger fish. Is I like to leave the ribs on the fish or in the fillet. So what I'll start by doing is cutting in behind that side fin and that in there, or behind those front fins, slicing down the belly and just going over the top of that anal fin there. Then what I do is come back to the back here, up where we cut down, and cut down along the back fin here, and cut down. What you're basically doing is cutting down until you feel those ribs with the tip of your knife. If you can see in there, I've cut down a ways and I've hit those ribs. So now I'm going to cut down, and basically now I'm just running the tip of my knife along those ribs. Okay? Once you get back behind where the ribs end, you're going to end up putting your knife through and it's going to come out where you already made that incision. And you're just going to finish that off down to the tail. Okay? But now we got to come back up here. We just got to finish off by basically cutting those ribs out. Like this here. Alright. And you see, you end up with a nice big fillet, like this one here. Okay? Just like that. And those ribs stay in the fish like that. Okay? So that's kind of the first version. What you would do is then flip that over, repeat the process on the other side. The second way I know how to do it is to take the fish here, set them down, make that same cut up behind the gill plate, behind those front two fins. I like to run that down, get my cut here just in front of that anal fin so that I don't leave any bones from the anal fin. And then what I'm going to do is turn that knife back and cut through those ribs all the way back to the tail. Alright, so now, same deal. Got a nice white fillet here. This one, that first version I did, there's no ribs in that. Second version, I've got these ribs in here. So what I need to do is come in with my knife and get behind those ribs and take those ribs out. Get this out of here so I don't make a mess out of it. Alright, so now I've got those ribs in there, so I've just got this extra step of taking those ribs out. Right? So now I've got those ribs out. Same deal, just take that little bit of ribs out, and again, I've got two beautiful fillets here. One there, two different, little bit different nuances in the style of cleaning these fish. So that first style of cleaning I use on a little bit bigger fish because those ribs get really thick on a bigger fish and they're harder to get some of these knives through. So I leave the fish in the fillet or in the fish and cut the fillet off. Second version, if I've got basically a 19 inch or smaller fish, I'll cut those ribs out and then slice them out because I think, in my opinion, it's just what I'm better at. So I get a little bit nicer, meatier fillet. So then on both of these styles of cleaning, what I'm going to end up doing is just coming back, starting at the tail end, working my way forward, and cutting that fillet off the skin here. And you end up coming away with a nice, full chunk of meat there. So the last thing I like to do here before I'm done, you can see I've got my 4 fillets here from either side of those two fish. I like to do what's called a zipper cut. You can see this line here that runs down the middle of the fillet. What I'll do is take at the tail here, just make a cut right on either side of that, and then you just pull the meat apart, and it pulls apart like a zipper coming apart, and then you pull the other side apart here, and you see you got two pieces of meat, and there's just that little strip of bones in there. You know, walleye fillets, a fish under the, under 17, 18 inches, those bones are so small they'll cook up and get soft. But once you get a fish that's above 18, 22, 23 inches, you start to get that bone in there that doesn't cook or doesn't soften up as much. So these two fish, I'm going to take that little strip of bones out. Otherwise, smaller eater sized fish, I'll just leave that in. It's not a big deal. But so that's the last little step here in these two ways to clean a fish. Like I said earlier, so many ways to clean fish. These are the two ways that I do it. I would say if you don't clean out a lot of fish, just become proficient at one of the two ways of doing it. Or whatever way you find easiest for you, just be proficient at that. That way you're losing less meat and you're getting the most out of the fish. So when it comes to fishing, which is definitely a sport, so fishermen are phenomenal athletes, don't forget to stay hydrated, especially when it comes to post-game activities like cleaning your daily catch. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped. I'm sure I left a few details out, but shoot me a comment and I'll see if I can iron out some of the confusion.